Fluent CRM keeps on getting better. I've got a slight advanced copy of an update that's coming out, I believe, on July 20th, 2021. So what I'm looking at is beta software, but I want to show you some of the features that you can expect. If you're looking at this today, hopefully you'll have this arrive today, if not very soon. And I just really like the way that Fluent CRM keeps getting better with every iteration, and it just keeps getting faster as the improvements come along. So what I want to do is show you some of the things that you can expect now inside of Fluent CRM. And why don't we go ahead and get started? Hi, my name is William BEEM. I'm with Suburbia Press, and we're here to help small business people just like you. So why don't we go ahead and let me address one of the first things that's coming up. There are going to be a number of bug fixes, which is typically whenever there's an update of software. I'm not going to go over every little bug fix, but there are a couple things I have on my notes that I wanted to make sure I brought up. One was a fix for WooCommerce dynamic segments. Basically, there was a problem where dynamic segments were not updating correctly. That should be fixed now. Another one was with smart links, and I really like smart links. If you're not familiar with what they are, smart links allow you to not only just give a URL to someone to click in an email or on your webpage, but then you can also tag the user and add them to a list or add them to a tag or remove a list or tag. And that just kind of helps you build a profile on your customers. There were some conflicts with caching and also with Cloudflare, which I'm using, and I was a victim of this as well. So that should also be corrected now as part of the bug fixes. There's also an updated dashboard. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at that? All right, so when you get the update of Fluent CRM, there's a new dashboard, and you can see there's a very easy to understand kind of little dashboard panels here. And this is a test or demo site that I've created, so there's not a whole lot of stuff here. If you're new, there is kind of a getting started thing over here. You can kind of cross off as you do different tasks. I haven't created a form yet, so it'll still appear for me there. If you're working with WooCommerce, you can see that there are sales over here. There are some quick links. You still have all the things that you had up here before, but it's just nice to have some quick links there. And there's no growth on this one because I'm just importing users. As I said, it's a demo page. But I think at a glance, what you get on your dashboard is just a cleaner interface, and it's a little bit nicer. And I really like, for example, if you're using WooCommerce, I like seeing the sales and I like the quick links. There are some new metadata integrations. So for example, I have LearnDash on my site. I have installed WooCommerce to show you that. So let's go over to WooCommerce. We're going to go over here to products. I'm going to take a look at all of my products, which really in this case is only one. And I just created something called Fluent Widgets. So let's edit that. Down here under product data, the last thing you see on this page is Fluent CRM. And it's kind of jumping around. So let me go ahead and click on the right spot. And you can see here, now you have options for integration. So if there's a successful purchase action, you can add tags or remove tags. And if there's a refund action, you can add tags or remove tags. So that's kind of nice. What's happening with this version of Fluent CRM and moving forward is it's kind of eliminating the need for tools like this one I have over here, which is the Uncanny Automator. So if I go over here to LearnDash and select courses, you're going to see much the same thing. So we'll go into test course. We'll go into settings. And as I scroll down, over here, inside of the settings of LearnDash, you can see Fluent CRM, apply tags on course enrollment, apply tags on course completion. So there's options now where you can do things to track and build a profile of your students, of your customers, whether it's in WooCommerce. I have LearnDash. This should also work with other tools. I know Lifter LMS is one of them. There's another one that I can't recall off the top of my head, probably because I don't have it. But I really like this integration that we have in here. So the fact that we have some metadata built in with some of the add-ons, and I can't show all of them because I don't have every product that integrates with Fluent CRM. But if you do have some integrations, please go ahead, take a look and see if there are new opportunities to add metadata. So you can add tags, perhaps add lists, depending upon what it is. In most cases, what I'm seeing is to add tags. So for example, what I did in the past was I would use this automator, and if I looked at my recipes, I don't think I have any built on this site yet. So what you would do is you would click add new, and then you would look for a trigger. So for example, If you had something with, let's say, LearnDash over here, a user achieves a certain percentage. So a tool like Uncanny Automator is a bit more granular than what you're seeing built into FluentCRM. But you know what? This is an extra cost item. If all you need is just to add some tags when someone enrolls in a course or completes a course, or if someone buys a product or gets a refund, that's now capable within FluentCRM itself. So I think that's actually a pretty nice little addition. If you have a membership, I have a wishlist member. Let's come over here to the setup. You're going to find something similar. There's an integration here. So I can integrate with email providers and have FluentCRM right there. So you can take actions, add them to a list. You can do tag actions. If you want to add somebody to a tag, you can select a tag and then add that to them as well. So that's integrations with learning management systems like LearnDash, membership things like Wishlist Member, and also WooCommerce. So now you've got a way to build profiles very easily inside of your dashboard. If we come back to FluentCRM, we'll go over here to Contacts. And this is just all dummy data, so let me go ahead and click on somebody here. The integrations continue. So if somebody's enrolled in a course, which at this point I don't have anyone in there, LearnDash courses, I can see what courses they're involved in, have my notes and activities. Form submissions are specifically for Fluent Forms, so if they've submitted something from a Fluent Form entry, you'll see that over here. And of course, there's their purchase history over here as well too. So if they've bought something from your WooCommerce store, that's pretty nice. And then of course, you've got your history of emails that you've sent to them. And if you need to, you can send a specific email to somebody, kind of like a one-off thing. So your abilities with getting a profile of your contacts is increasing as this goes along. Speaking of emails, let's go over here to campaigns. I want to create a new one, and we'll just call it new campaign because I'm really not that creative at the moment. But there are some changes here as well that I'd like to show you. There's an extra button over here, and this is basically your preview. So you can see that this is the default footer that's in here, and I don't have any text. So you can just X out of that if you want to. And then we can start writing something in here. So that doesn't look very different, but when we go ahead and click the slash key, you notice that there is a product block. And that is specifically from our WooCommerce integration. And I created something again that I called Fluent Widgets. So we'll just go ahead and say done. And it builds a nice little buy now thing. So you can obviously create your product inside of WooCommerce the way that you want to. And then you can very quickly and easily add this inside of your emails that you send off. And look what you have over here with the product block settings. You can align the image to the left, you can align it to the top, or you can just get rid of the image altogether. But let's just leave it at the default. And you can toggle whether you have the description on or off, or the price on or off. And then you've also got these little color customizations you can do. So for example, if we want to change this to orange, I don't really like that. I might want to go with something black. Your background color can easily change. Maybe you want it green, maybe you want orange, or maybe not quite so drastic. And then your pricing can also change. So if I want to make that white so it stands out off of that background, I can do that. And of course, you can click on custom color. If you have your specific brand colors that you want, you can go ahead and put those in here as well too. So you can choose that, whether you want RGB values, HSL values, or the hexadecimal value. So that's kind of very nice and easy to understand. Also, on our editor, you notice that we still have our traditional 3 templates that are over here. So there was the simple box, which is what we default with. There's a plain centered. There's a template plain left. And then before we get to the raw editor, which is we've had before, is this new one with a classic editor. There are some folks who were saying, I don't really like working with Gutenberg. So now if you want to, you can just go ahead and work with the classic editor from WordPress, and everything can work that way. You've still got your smart codes over here, and that gives you a nice little list. But the block, as far as what we saw with the product, I mean, obviously, if you don't use the Gutenberg editor, you don't get the Gutenberg blocks. I haven't explored this very much. I don't see a mention of the product here using the classic editor, and perhaps that's just simply the way it is. But I know that if we go back over here, we've got our blocks, and then we can now go ahead and add a product from WooCommerce. So I really like the changes in here. There's a couple more things too. If you click on this button, which we've had before, you notice down here, disable default email footer. If you want to have a different footer for different campaigns, you can do that. You just simply click disable here, and then you can go ahead and build your own footer. So what you would do in that case is you make sure you want to have the options there for someone to unsubscribe or maybe manage their lists or click on your homepage. You can do that with custom shortcodes. The last thing I want to take a look at are automations. There is a new look to automation. So I'll create a new one, but let's start off with looking at one of our existing automations. This is, something I built with the old planner before, but let me go ahead and click on this plus sign. And there's a couple of changes. So we have actions, but you notice now that they're in segments. In other words, there's one for the CRM, there's one for emails, there's one for WordPress. And this may change depending upon what you have installed as other plugins that integrate with FluentCRM. But it's much easier to find what you're looking for now if you have these things in blocks. And I think that is just a wonderful UI change. Where it says goals, previously in FluentCRM, this was benchmarks. So just basically you can see over here is the reminder benchmark. You can see there's a benchmark. So if an order is received in WooCommerce, list applied and so forth. And then of course you have your conditionals. So it's these little panels or blocks, whatever you want to call them, they just look much better in organization. And then if you view all, you can see that everything's listed over here, and you can just kind of scroll down the list for what you want to see. So that's what it looks like inside of an existing automation that you have. If we go back over here, we create a new automation, you can see over here, what is it that's going to kick you off? Is it going to be something from FluentCRM? Would it be something from LearnDash, from Wishlist Member, from WooCommerce, or from WordPress? So for example, in LearnDash, someone enrolls in a course or completes a course, a lesson, a topic, or if they enroll in one of the LearnDash groups, that is something that you can listen for. This is one of your new goals instead of benchmarks. And then you can go ahead and say, someone enrolls in a course, let's continue. And so now you've got your name, your subscription status, which if you remember, you can change them from subscribed, depending, or unsubscribed. If it already exists for some of these conditions, you can update it or skip it. You can select the course, and in this case, I've only got one test course. Another thing that's added in here is you can restart automation multiple times for a contact. In previous versions, there were basically a contact would run through an automation only once and then would not run through it again. There are some circumstances where you may want to have a contact run through an automation more than one time. So in order to do that, you need to check this box. So I'm going to check this one just for the fun of it, because I don't think someone's going to complete the course, or enroll in the course more than once, but we'll go ahead and say save settings. And from there, I like the fact that this is showing up in red now, because it kind of gives you a visual reminder. For me, it was easy to forget sometimes that it was still in draft. Seeing this in red is just a nice visual cue for me. So we start up there, and then we come back to the actions and goals that we see. So somebody's enrolled in the course, what do I want to do? Do I want to change their tags or lists, remove them, add some notes and activities? And do I want to send them some sequence emails, which could be a helpful thing for a course? So for example, if somebody enrolled in a new course, they don't really know entirely what they're getting into, you might want to send them some occasional helpful reminders. It's just a very nice little way of doing things. And of course, you still have all your other goals that are over here. And again, I think this is going to vary depending upon what you have installed as plugins on your WordPress environment. So you may want to check and see if someone's enrolled in the course, are they in the correct membership level? Do you need to add them to a membership level? Did they get access to the group? Maybe this is how you add them to the group. Instead of doing what I did with Uncanny Automator, if I wanted to add somebody to a group, I had to make a rule or a recipe in that. Now I'm finding that I can do more things that I used to use a third-party plugin for inside of FluentCRM. One other thing that I wanted to point out is this one, outgoing webhook. Previous versions, you could have a webhook listener. Basically, if something was inbound to FluentCRM, maybe you had a form provider. Maybe in my case, I have something coming in from a software as a service, like a shopping cart system instead of WooCommerce, and it'll update FluentCRM. Now, inside of an automation, you can have an outgoing webhook. So if you need to send information back based upon some condition that's happened inside of an automation, you have the ability to do that as well too. So you can go over here and say outgoing webhook. You can change the name of the label. You can put in the remote URL that you get from where you're going to be sending this to, choose the method, choose the request format, and so forth. And then it really depends on the options that the service you're sending data to needs to receive. So hopefully, if you're working with something that needs to receive outbound data, you have the option to do that now inside of an automation. And that's pretty much covering what I'm looking at in this newest update. Again, keep in mind, I'm looking at a beta version of this. What I have here right now is not final. There's a possibility that some things may change or get added to. Matter of fact, just over the weekend, the user interface change that I was showing inside of automations changed from one day to the next. The guys at FluentCRM are working very hard. They keep coming up with improvements and updates, which is why I'm really happy to be a customer of theirs. So I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Matter of fact, in the comments, which of these new features do you think is going to be most useful for you? I am someone who has courses. So the idea that I now have this information to look at who's involved within my courses and a contact at a glance and lets me know what their progress is, I can use that to say, is somebody stuck or somebody not participating, or how many people do I have going through a course at a time? I think that's very useful to see in the contact. There's a little bit of a dashboard area there, and it's just really going to be very handy to me. So that's one of my favorite features coming up. But please let me know in the comments, what's your favorite feature and how are you going to use it? Thank you very much. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the like button. That tells YouTube we did something right. They will share this with more people. I'd love it if you would subscribe and then click the little bell notification icon. You'll be notified the next time I have a video to come out. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.